Bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right, welcome, Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today is Monday, June 6th, 2022. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. For KJCR, the Game Changer, and NX Networks, Race Hobbs, I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? A brand new week here on Fade to Black. Tonight, we have very special guest. Dave Beaty is with us. Tomorrow night, Jason Quitt is here. Wednesday night, Freddie Silva. Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. We've got an amazing week coming up. Yes, I'm just going to let everybody know that I'm running on fumes. Tonight, I did 24 hours of planes, trains, and automobiles. That's right, I flew to Detroit on Saturday. Last night, we had our premiere for Billy Carson's The Black Knight Satellite, Beyond the Signal. We did that last night, and then immediately after the premiere, I got on a plane and flew back to Los Angeles. So I was in Detroit for 24 hours, and it was absolutely amazing. More on that in just a bit, but it was an amazing weekend, and I'll get caught up on images and photos and stuff. I did a bunch of live streaming from there, and if you want to catch those live streams, they were a lot of fun to do. And they're over on Facebook, and I'll get them up on YouTube eventually. Today was a very frantic, fun day, just knowing and remembering and recalling what went down over the last 24 hours. It was so much fun. And driving back, once I successfully landed in Los Angeles and got into the Fade to Black Jeep, and got stuck in that morning traffic in downtown Los Angeles, I called up Billy. And Billy was at the airport, and he's flying back to Miami. But I talked to him today, and I said, wow, man, that was incredible. And listening to his voice and the excitement, it was just absolutely amazing. But I'll say this, I'll talk more about it in just a bit, but this film, Billy knocked it out of the park, and the entire team there. So I'll talk more about that in just a bit. Yes, we have sold out our tour in Egypt this October, and I am still getting emails from friends out there that want to go. And if there's any changes, if there's any cancellations, to let them know right away. So Billy and I will look into that this week. And if there is any changes, I'll reach out to you, all of you individually, and see what we can do. But right now, it is indeed sold out. And we could sell more tickets. We just don't have, we've only got 2 buses. They're full. We've sold out. Every suite on the boat for the Nile cruise, all 80 are booked. That's it. There's no place to put anybody. There's no more seats We could sell tickets, but you would be on your own, if you know what I mean. So that's what's going on. It is sold out. But there you go. Coming up next in about a week, about 10 days, I will be hosting Disclosure Fest right here in Los Angeles. That is June 18th. Billy Carson's going to be there, too, by the way. And Billy and I were thinking about that. We're talking about that over the weekend. We're like, man, we're doing this. And then in a week, we're doing it all over again at Disclosure Fest. And we are right here in downtown Los Angeles at the Los Angeles State Historic Park. This is a huge one-day event. Go to disclosurefest.org for tickets and information on that. Coming up very soon, I will be, I'll get the announcements together when they're ready, but I am going to be doing a cruise that will, it's February, March, I believe. I have everything in front of me. I just don't have it right now. Departing out of Los Angeles and heading down into Mexico. So that's coming up. And then I will also be going over to Manchester, United Kingdom next year too as well for the Awakening Conference. And so lots of things coming up. And then folding into that schedule is another film, and my new TV series officially goes into production. I had to build a new set. They wanted to build a custom set. So I said yes. And that's what's going on. So that just got finished, and that's it. We're gearing up, and I've got to start doing that for the rest of 2022. Oh, man. Life is good. Life is good. All right. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. All right. Follow me right there on Twitter at JChurchRadio. And the Sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. And it's active right there. Ken Priest, you going to come on that cruise with me? I cannot imagine. Ken Priest is so much fun. He is. You have a bowl and you fill it full of trouble and put some milk on the top. That's Ken Priest. He's a big bowl of trouble. I could only imagine what he would be like on a cruise. So Ken, yeah, there you go. All right. Follow me on Twitter. You can see Ken's post. That's why I mentioned that. It's right there. Hashtag F2B on Twitter. All right. All right. And again, I keep mentioning this because this is where I have fun. Follow me over on Instagram if you want to check out my music stuff. And it's over there. All right. At Jimmy Church Radio. Let's get to the breaking news, though. Crazy breaking news today. NASA is going to launch a priority mission. This is their words, to explore mysterious mounds on the moon. These mounds have baffled scientists for decades. The U.S. Space Agency has unveiled plans for a rover to visit, I don't even know, the Grithuson domes, geological features which experts believed were formed by sticky magma rich in silica, similar in composition to granite. On Earth, formations like this need oceans of liquid water and plate tectonics to form, but experts don't know how the domes have formed and evolved on the moon. The Lunar Vice investigation, slated for 2025, will consist of a suite of 5 instruments. 2 of those will be mounted on a stationary lander and 3 mounted on a mobile rover to be provided by a service of a commercial lunar payload vendor. So the rover hasn't been built yet, or maybe it has. They just haven't announced it. Incredible. Now, Japan, check this out. Japan's education ministry says that more than 20 types of amino acids were detected in samples of an asteroid that were brought back to Earth in December of 2020. Now, remember, they flew out and went to an asteroid, collected stuff, and then came back to Earth, right? You remember this mission. The Hayabusa 2 spacecraft collected those samples from the asteroid Ryugu. The Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA, that probe landed on Ryugu, nearly 200 million miles from Earth back in 2019. And it collected about 5.4 grams of samples from the asteroid's surface and subsurface. Amino acids, of course, are the building blocks of proteins, RNA, DNA, you and I, and everything else on this planet that grows and lives. These essential organic molecules are there for life. And scientists are getting a better understanding of the various chemical cocktails cruising in the cosmos and seeding life here billions of years ago. Absolutely incredible. Now, don't look up, right? Don't look up. I'm telling you, that movie is funny and as great as it is Adam McKay. Is starting to turn into a documentary because a test of whether asteroid defense systems could spot a potentially hazardous near-Earth asteroid on its closest approach successfully rediscovered the infamous asteroid 99942 Apophis, which will make a close encounter with our planet in 2029. For this asteroid defense exercise, all previous data on Apophis were made inaccessible. This meant that astronomers had to start afresh during the asteroid's close approach, which began in December of 2020 and ended in March 2021. During the test, Apophis was spotted first by the Catalina Sky Survey in Arizona, followed by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, otherwise known as ATLAS, which has observatories in Chile, Hawaii, and South Africa, and the Panoramic Survey Telescope and Rapid Response System, PAN-STARRS, in Hawaii. Perhaps the most important measurements were from NASA's Near-Earth Objects Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer, NEOWISE, and that's a spacecraft, which used its thermal vision to accurately measure the size and shape of Apophis. It identified Apophis as an elongated object with a diameter of 886 by 1,345 feet. This information was finally enough to rule out a collision in 2029, or for at least another 100 years. Incredible. Don't look up. Let's get this show cracking. On this day in history, OTD 2013. Edward Snowden discloses a U.S. government-run surveillance program that monitored the communications records of not just criminals or potential terrorists, but law-abiding citizens as well, like you, on this day in 2013. Then he jumped on a plane and went to Russia. Fader facts. All right. Are you ready? Trip on this. I love Fader facts. Here's your Fader fact today. Octopuses collect coins from ancient shipwrecks to fill their homes with. That's right. They decorate their homes with coin collections. And that is your Fader fact. That's incredible. That's incredible. That's incredible. I will never, ever, ever again. I just can't do it. I will never eat calamari. No. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. All right. tonight, Dave Beaty is with us. We have 3 different UAP UFO cases that we are going to discuss tonight with all of you. We've also got a special guest crew member from the USS Ronald Reagan. That's a surprise that will be joining us in about an hour or two as well to discuss this. This is a big deal, and this is a big show tonight. And I want to thank Dave for all of his hard work, and he has become such a part of our community. And tonight he is with us. It's going to be a great show, so stand by for that. And then tomorrow night, Jason Quidd is here for Quidspiracy number we don't know. Trying to figure this out. Is it 9? Is it 10? Is it 11? Drew wrote me earlier today. Man, I'm trying to chase this down. I don't know what number it is. Well, you know what? That's part of Quidspiracy. And that is tomorrow night. Very excited about that. Quidspiracy. It's just turned into an institution. It's part of Fade to Black. So tomorrow night, Jason Quidd is here. And then Wednesday night, Freddie Silva joins us. And this is what is great. Freddie's got a new book out. It's right here. And Freddie's one of my favorite guests, and he's such a great guy and so informed. But he's got a new book out, Scotland's Hidden Sacred Past. Here's the book here, which I've had for a while, since it was published a couple of months ago. And so Freddie's back. He's been touring the world, and he just got back last week. And so we booked this show, and because of his new book, right? Didn't think about it. Freddie's in our new film, The Black Knight Satellite. I said our, I'm part of the film. It's certainly Billy Carson's new film, and it was directed by Melissa Tittle. But Freddie is amazing in this film. So Wednesday night, I wanted to talk about this book. I think Freddie wants to talk about the new film. So I think we're going to get a little mix of both. And that goes down Wednesday night. And then Thursday, of course, is another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right. Running on fumes. Running on fumes. Now, I want to say this. I love Detroit. Now, my family is from Michigan. My mom and dad were both born there, Flint and Saginaw, in that area. My grandparents lived in Holly, and I lived in Kalamazoo with my family for a while my dad went to college at Western Michigan and eventually graduated. But, so Michigan, my summers and my aunts and my uncles and my family, my grandparents and everything, Christmases, Thanksgivings, and all of that stuff. I just love Michigan. But going back to Detroit, I want to say this now to the great, amazing people of Detroit. You guys rock. And what a great time there. Everybody just so fun and so cool and so warm. And I'm talking about, it was the hotel staff. It was the airport. It was the restaurants and the restaurant staffs. And they all knew what we were doing there. And they were just so happy and welcoming and literally rolled out the red carpet. Now, putting that aside, Saturday night, now I didn't know. So Saturday night, we got together for a dinner. Now, I had just gotten off a plane, and so I jumped into a nice black SUV, and that took me down to the restaurant in downtown on Woodward Avenue, which is it's probably Detroit's most famous street. It's incredible. Anyway, I'm not making this up. We pulled in. And I realize it's Saturday night, but we pulled into this madness that is downtown Detroit. It's incredible. The restaurants, the nightclubs, the people that are out there. I don't know, but it felt like Times Square in New York. I don't know how many people were down there, 50,000, 100,000, I don't know. And I guess this is just a normal Saturday night in Detroit, having a great time. And I wanted to stay. I wanted to just stay in downtown Detroit and walk around. It was incredible. But we had a very busy day set up for Sunday, and I just could, none of us could, but it was incredible to see. And the people, it was incredible. And so I just wanted to say, man, I love Detroit. It was incredible. It was just incredible. So now let's get to Saturday. This event, which, being held in Detroit, and it's a movie premiere, that's out of the norm. It's not New York. It's not LA. Billy could have certainly done this in Miami, in his hometown. But Billy and Elizabeth chose Detroit, and I'm so glad that they did. And here's the deal. That a lot of people from Detroit, of course, were there for the premiere, and I think I met everybody eventually that was there. But I met people from New Mexico, Colorado, Washington, New York, Atlanta, Texas, Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania. All around the country, people came in for this event for a movie premiere, and flew in. And to have them come up and say, Jimmy, we just flew in from so and so, but you and Billy are the reason why we are here, and just thank you. And I listen to the show every night, and I thought it was going to be a Detroit, Michigan audience that was there. No, people flew in from all around the country, and that was so much fun, so cool. Now, a couple of big surprises for me: Donnie Arcade and Cruz were there, and I was hoping. I didn't want to jinx it. I didn't want to. Ask Billy, so is Donnie Arcade going to be here? And then have Billy go, no, he's busy. He couldn't make it or whatever. I didn't want to bring it up. But then Donnie gets out of this car. I was like, no way. And he's got Cruz with him. And we hung out. That's it, man. That's it. It was just incredible. We hung out all day and all night. It was so much fun. Donnie, of course, Billboard artist and just incredible. But he wrote the Fade to Black theme song, and just a tremendous talent. And he had Cruz with him, and this is the deal. I'm just going to say this right now, and I hope they're both listening, that when Donnie and I first started to talk and hang out, I brought him on Coast and brought him on Fade to Black and things. I wanted to know what Cruz was like. I didn't talk to Donnie about Donnie. I talked to him about Cruz. Cruz, his style of R&B, of rap, and singing about consciousness and history, and of course aliens and contacting UFOs and things. But he has got a style that just blows my mind. And so you listen and you're like, this is great music. This is just great. It's well written. It's produced right, and the voice. But then you go and listen to the words. So that's the best part for me about Donnie Arcade and Cruz and their whole little circle, that the next generation is listening to this excellent music and the beats and the melody and stuff. And then, do they know what the lyrics are about? And that's what I love about Donnie Arcade and Cruz, because they are introducing us, our community, all of this to the next generation through music. And Cruz, the way he does it. Donnie, well, they're both artists, but Donnie's got a different approach and a different style, which is it's so global, and it's such a big sound that Donnie Arcade has. Cruz, on the other hand, with his style, is more, he's like Yngwie Malmsteen versus like Donnie Arcade would be like a Stevie Ray Vaughan, right? And then you've got Cruz, man. He's Yngwie Malmsteen. And when you take a second to stop and listen, these are deep, deep songs. And it was just amazing for me. I'm just saying personally, I got to hang out with Billy's son, Justin, all weekend, his daughter, April, and of course, everybody else. And that was so cool. But for me, it was so special to hang out with Donnie Arcade and Cruz, because I have such mad respect for them. I'm going to get Cruz and Donnie on the show. I want to do individual shows with both of them, and those are going to be coming up, and we'll feature their music and their videos. And you can certainly go follow them on Instagram, and you can check out my Instagram channel, and you can chase those guys down there too as well. Okay, all right. So what a great weekend. And then we did the red carpet. And after that, going in to this very nice theater, by the way, and sitting down and watching this film, I'm going to say this. I'm going to be talking about it for the next couple of weeks nonstop. But the editing, the music, the content that is in this film, not only world class, but this is a film like no other, about a subject that needs to be heard, it needs to be seen, and it needs to be known. I can't wait for all of you to check out the Black Knight Satellite Beyond the Signal, the approach to it and how it was done. And I'm just right now, huge thank you to Melissa Tittle and her team and the editors and the graphics and the way that this film was put together. It is world class. It's an incredible film, and watching it from beginning to end, and after it was done, and I woke up today and I just thought to myself, Billy and Melissa knocked it out of the park. It's an incredible film. I can't wait for you to see it. This is Fade to Black tonight, right here. Dave Beaty is with us. We've got 1, 2, 3 UAP, UFO cases that we are going to talk about tonight. Maybe you've heard of them, probably not. We're going to do all of that tonight. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, Jason Quitt. And then Wednesday night, Freddie Silva. Thursday is another Fader night. And I will be right back after this short break with tonight's guest, Dave Beaty. Stay with me.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate, with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic. All River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the unxnetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the unxnetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UNX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcast. It's time. It's new. It's the X.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. We got a big show tonight. Dave Beaty is with us. Now, we're going to be covering 3 different cases tonight. We're going to deal with the USS Kearsarge, the USS Ronald Reagan. We're also going to discuss the Apache UAP video. We're going to do all of that tonight. We've got a special, I'm going to say this right now, top secret guest tonight, too, as well, is going to join us at the bottom of the next hour. Emmy-Award winning television producer and cinematographer David C. Beaty is a former broadcast journalist, UAP researcher, and filmmaker. His career in nonfiction television and documentary spans 25 years with production company Dreamtime Entertainment. Career highlights include national programs on the Travel Channel, History Channel, and PBS. More recently, the short UFO documentary film, The Nimitz Encounters. You know, you call that a short documentary film. That was a lot of work that went into that. And I don't know, millions and millions of views on YouTube. His research includes numerous interviews with Navy vets and analysis using FOIA of the more recent UAP incursions in military training areas. All of this continues with Dave to this day. I've got 2 articles over on Medium that are linked below. I want you to go and read those. One on the Kearsarge and one on the Ronald Reagan. I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Dave Beaty. Dave, now you've got your air conditioner still running.
I turned it off, man.
It's all that high-tech gear humming in the background.
It could be.
Yeah. And this is the deal, Dave. You. If I back up before, I'm just going to pick a year. I'm going to go 2018. Okay, let's go 2018. Did the UFO community know who you were?
Not really. I mean, in 2018, I had just kind of came back on the scene with UFOs, and I started these Facebook groups that, you know, I actually just made them private for some reason. I don't know. That wasn't the best method of attracting people, but a bunch of people that were kind of powerful in the sphere of UFOs ended up in this group. So I had all these like interesting people that were participating, like guys from SCU and MUFON, and we just had this like little inside thing going on, and that's when it first kind of started, and the ball started rolling on the UFO thing, really.
Well, but now you realize you're the guy. Do you accept the challenge? Because what comes along with that is you're going to have both sides of the extreme, right? Then you're going to have the middle, and you have to deal with all of that. Are you up to the challenge? Here we are 4 years later, and it hasn't gotten any easier, has it?
No, I mean, it's I don't know if I came up with this term, but they said you're really nobody until you're accused of being a disinfo agent. So that term's hit me a few times already. So I'm like, hey, I must have done something right or wrong, because now I'm like, I have somebody accusing me of being a disinfo agent or whatever. I mean, I definitely don't work for the CIA, and I'm definitely not a disinfo agent unless, maybe, trying to like get information out, but that's about it. So,
well, you kind of look fed. You kind of look fed. You look like somebody that would come up to my car and go, license and registration, please. You got that look. You got that look.
I just got a short haircut, that's all.
You got that look. You got that look. Well, now, okay. Let's get a little bit serious here. We just came off of this UFO hearing, back on the 17th, which was a very, very, very big deal. They played a video, which I know that you saw. You're a cinematographer. You're an editor. You're a filmmaker. You do documentaries. This is your life. This is what you do. As a matter of fact, everybody, I called Dave last week. I said, Dave, man, I got to talk to you, man. Give me a call. He literally says, dude, I've been up since 5 a.m. shooting for whatever, NBC, and I'll call you tomorrow. That's your life. This is what you do, right? So when you saw that video, that it was probably Scott Bray, that picked that out. I don't know if it was Moultrie. But when you saw that video, what went through your mind?
When I saw that video, based on knowing what other videos have already been presented by the U.S. government, I thought to myself, well, maybe they didn't want to use the good stuff that's already been presented, and they were trying to find something in their folder that was new, that would basically sort of downplay the seriousness of this, that there's really kind of not that much to look at, that this is kind of what they're dealing with. That's kind of went through my mind, like, hey, this is the best we got. We really don't know what that is, but you can tell that it's not that great,
It's well, the object was an interesting one.
Yeah.
What I was more surprised, because it may have been a great video, we just don't know, because of the presentation and the way that they did it. No slow-mo, no freeze frame, no screen grabs. They should have had posters on easels in back of them, like any other, responsible person providing testimony. You're gonna have your stuff there, your media on display, and they didn't have. So we don't know what that video could have shown the world.
Yeah, I mean, it was embarrassing, to be honest with you. If you talk about the technical presentation, I was just kind of going, oh my God, don't they know that you can just hit the arrow key to like frame forward in Media Player? They don't have a Mac, so I guess you can go frame by frame by hitting the arrow key or something.
You can.
And they were trying to play and stop, and it was like one frame, this like thing flew by, and they couldn't nail it. So it was just this embarrassing like 2 minutes of them trying to stop it on the frame, and no one thought in advance that the senators were going to be like, okay, can you show me the exact frame where the UFO is?
Right. And as a cinematographer, about different formats, captures, pickup elements, the hardware and software that is utilized to capture video today, because everything is done in digital. We're not doing analog captures anymore. Maybe some people are. Okay, before I even go in that direction, everything is digital today, and you understand those formats. What do you think that the UAP task force has access to? Do they have like 1080p or 4K high def, crisp, clear, awesome imagery to look at?
Absolutely. I mean, the sensor systems on our basically Navy jets and our Navy vessels, and I'm sure Air Force and Space Force and Coast Guard and everybody else has very sophisticated sensors and cameras and night vision. So, I mean, maybe that the sensors themselves are all classified. If you show the picture from the sophisticated targeting sensor, that's a classified camera, and they can't show that. So they had to find the video that was taken on somebody's iPhone. I mean, I guess that's feasible, but couldn't you just show some good stuff and maybe blur out the telemetry data or something, like they used to do when they showed gun camera footage? These kind of fuzz out all the speed and location and all that information, and then it's just an image at that point.
Yeah. I have I can only speak from my experience, but I have Gen 3 Plus night vision goggles, right? You look through those, and it is crispy, crackly perfection, right? And so when you see these other night vision videos, those are shot from somebody taking their cell phone and putting them up to the night vision,
right?
Up to the goggles. So now you're getting another generation, but it's also out of focus, and you're dependent on the sensors and the pickups that are in a cell phone, which are pretty good, but there's a distance between the lens and when you look through night vision first, with your eyeballs, it's perfect. I mean, it's crispy, crackly, clear. So the stuff that we keep getting from the government, it's not that. And I know that they are in possession of real footage.
When I was researching the July 2019 incidents, which, by the way, they showed that green triangle footage, that was from that. Again, they're showing somebody with a cell phone holding it up against a night vision. That was what they were showing us. But I know for a fact that almost every single one of those destroyers has a very sophisticated camera system called the Mark 25 EOSS, something like that, that's up on the superstructure, that has all these high resolution cameras and FLIRs and night vision and zoom lenses. The thing's a monster. It just, and that thing is going to be recording. If there's something in front of the ship, they're going to aim that camera at it to look at it, and they're going to be recording all of that. Now, yeah, I get it that stuff's classified, but I mean, they have it for sure. They have much higher resolution footage in a lot of these cases.
Now, do you think, and then we'll move on to the Kearsarge, because this is an incredible case. Do you think that we will eventually have access to, say, the Nimitz footage, and we're not getting second and third generation? Most people don't know, and I'm going to say probably nearly 100% of our community, they don't understand that the 3 videos that we have been watching were all shot from a monitor, right? So somebody's holding up a video camera to a monitor and shooting that. It's not the direct, off of the hard drive, off of the camera footage. We're looking at something that was shot off of a monitor. Do you think that the original footage will ever see the light of day?
I'm not sure. It seems to me that going the opposite direction, where UAP information, including sensor information and photographs and videos, is all being classified if it wasn't before, because you have to realize that in the past, if somebody saw a UFO, a lot of times it was just ignored. And if they had a hard drive, they might copy over it or a videotape because they weren't reporting it. It was just sort of like a joke. And now that the UAP task force and this new officer involved, the Navy at least is sending out rules saying all of this information, if anything that has to do with UAP, is classified now. So do not be sharing that with the media. So I think it's going to be just the opposite, unfortunately.
Now, okay, so the USS Kearsarge, let's get down to dates here. Now, we'll get into the data, what was revealed, and there we have some slides and what's the word I want to use? Is it PowerPoint? I don't want to get ahead of our skis, but it's PowerPoint, right?
Yeah, that was what was released.
Okay, so we'll circle back, but this is recent. We are sitting on June 6th, 2022. When did this incident allegedly take place?
The incident we originally suspected took place towards the end of October, around there in the beginning of November. Originally, the source thought it might have been in the beginning of November of 2021. And then he said also the same type of thing happened in January of 2022. So it is very recent.
All of this is very, very recent. So in light of, we're staying on the Kearsarge, but if we go back to the UFO hearing, when they mentioned 400 recent incidents, right? Do you think the Kearsarge was part of their data?
I think so, because I was told directly that a UAP task force report was submitted on this incident. So if that was true, I have not seen that classified document, but I was told that one was submitted. Okay,
so let's go to the day of the incident. How did things unfold?
Well, just to be sure, let me tell you that when I first learned about the case, this is secondhand information. It's not coming to me directly from the vessel itself. It's coming to me from a friend of somebody that was on the vessel, and that person, wants to remain nameless. So that's fine. That person, I vetted them, and they were a retired Marine Corps officer. Let's just say that. So they contacted me behind the scenes, and they say, "Hey, have you heard of this incident on the Kearsarge?" I said, "No." And they go, "Well, let me tell you what I was told." And they said my buddy was on the ship, and that in October, and today we know, basically it was around October 26th, they were out in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of North Carolina. Most likely that's where they train. They were on this amphibious transport dock ship. And the Marines and the Navy use these amphibious transport ships to move Marine expeditionary units around. And so when the Marines, who are usually a land-based fighting organization, have to move and train, they use the Navy, and they go on these ships that are these amphibious ships. So they were out there working with the Navy off the coast of North Carolina in these training ranges. And again, we hear this time and again that these objects sometimes appear in these op areas. And like off the coast of San Diego with the Nimitz, this is off the coast of North Carolina in the Cherry Point region. And this is similar to the region where Ryan Graves reported experiencing UAPs from his fighter squadron back in 2015. It's a similar area of that ocean. And what happened was there was literally a 4x4 Polaris all-terrain vehicle is parked on the deck of this transport ship, which is kind of it can launch like helicopters and Harriers and Osprey, craft off of this, kind of deck. It's a flight deck.
Yeah, that's the flight deck, and then it can go all the way up onto land and then open up and then.
Yeah, it can open its the below deck, and amphibious LCAC attack vessels can fly out, and amphibious vehicles can come out in the ocean as well.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
The Marines have this unit that's called like a ground-based air defense unit, and they use this truck called an LMATIS truck. That's the acronym. And these are like Polaris, M-Razor, all-terrain vehicles. Really what you would think like, an all-terrain vehicle. And the Marine Corps mounts these anti-UAS systems and radars on top of these vehicles. So they'll park these on the deck of this transport ship as air defense, like an extra layer of air defense. And these trucks and the Marines that operate them can conduct counter UAS or counter drone missions as well as counter air. So they have a radar, and they also have a electronic jamming system on this vehicle that can take out like conventional drones, your consumer type drones or other, probably military surveillance drones that come into proximity of this vehicle. So around October, they're out there and, they're probably practicing this counter UAS mission that they have, as well as other types of training. And during that time period, they began observing these two objects that appeared probably close to dark. I'm not exactly sure what time it is at this point. I would imagine that it was dark because they said that these things were glowing objects, and they appeared maybe a half mile in front of the ship. And the source told me that these objects were doing what he called shackle turns. And that's a shackle turn in a pilot vernacular is basically two objects that are reversing position like this.
Yeah, they start here and then they go like this. And then that's very strange. Hey, okay. I am going to, when you said you got the second hand and third hand, Dave's also got data here. So let's not, this isn't just, and I've got, I'm going to share this really quick. And here is the ship's deck log. And what is great about this is this entry right here. I'll let you mention the time and stuff, but what is here is now we know, right? The Snoopy team. And it says Snoopy Team 4, and is it UAVs?
Yeah, and let me just interject because, that document is not from the Kearsarge. I put that in there basically to show that the Snoopy teams were dispatched for this incident. And so they were, I'm still waiting on the Kearsarge deck logs, but that is an example of what they do when they see these objects. And what the source told me was they initially thought, okay, hey, look, here's some drones that the Navy is sending over our way to mess with us. Let's fire up our Matus truck and see if we can, affect these. Because, the Marines probably figured that this was part of their training exercise. But they were unable to really impact these things at all. And they had trouble getting them on radar. And so they contacted the Navy at that point, and they also contacted their chain of command to say, hey, we spotted these objects and we're having trouble, locking them up or whatever. And the response was, these are not our drones. The Navy and the Marines said, the command said, no, guys, those are not part of a training exercise, and those are not our UAS systems. So, that's where, obviously now you're talking about a UAP or an incursion into this training area.
Now, the training area, is that the whiskey zone?
That's right.
The whiskey area. Okay, I'm going to pull this up too as well before we get to the break, so everybody understands what we're talking about.
Where it is, yeah.
So tell everybody what we're looking at.
So right there, what looks like a layer, like a sheet pie pan that's been sliced up. Those are like the training areas that are designated by whiskey numbers. And the big chunks are might be whiskey area 122, and there's whiskey area 72 up to the north. And the military designates these areas for specific training. So, the Kearsarge would have been out there in one of these specific areas that are designated for safety reasons that are, they can fire weapons in some other areas. The aircraft can fly unimpeded. They'll reroute commercial airlines, in the flight paths around these areas during training. It just provides like a safety of flight and safety of maritime operations to operate there.
Yeah, each one of these boxes is numbered.
Yep.
So there would be 122 or whiskey 110 or 122. But these are the areas that would be the training area. And so when they say whiskey 122, it would say be this area here, this specific box.
That's right. And the Marine Corps often trains just off the coast of their, Cherry Point Marine Corps Air Station, and Camp Lejeune is right there. So
Camp Lejeune's right here.
Yeah, so they'll be out training, 24/7 all year long out there before deployment. And that's what they do. They basically go out there and they train all of their missions before they're being deployed. And they actually were deployed in February to the, one of the hotspots right now that's going on. Obviously the locations of where some of these vessels are today is not really known publicly, but that's where they are. They're kind of overseas right now.
Got you. Okay, we need to take a break right here, Dave. We will come back and pick up now. Okay, so let's do a quick recap. So, we'll talk about the slides in a second, right? Okay, we'll get to that because the slides graphically represent the position of these objects. But here's the Kearsarge, and then about 5 miles off, I'm going to call that starboard, which is left, to us landlubbers. 2 objects are in the night sky, and they are going 200 feet. Is it 200 feet? And
like 200 feet, in the air, maybe a half mile away from the ship.
And changing position, the shackle position. And so all of this is very interesting, and how it was covered. We're going to do all of that next when we come back after this break. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dave Beaty is with us. It's going to be one of those nights tonight. Yeah, that's Dave's air conditioning. You heard it. That's not me. I'll be right back. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. It's going to be a great night. 3 UFO UAP cases discussed tonight with Dave. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can right now get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer, Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers, and you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Dave Beaty. 3 UFO UAP cases, U.S. Navy, Marines, Air Force. We got it all tonight, man. This is good stuff. And what I want to do, Dave, I have made a lot of comments about the different branches of the military and who is cooperating and who isn't. We know that the Air Force right now is causing trouble. What was it like working with the Marines, trying to get information out of them?
Well, I did do FOIAs to the Navy and to the Marines to try to find some information about this incident. After, that the source told me about it, I wanted to confirm that it actually did occur. I basically got some foot dragging with the Navy. It's just hard to get information now from the Navy through the FOIA. Sometimes it takes a year or more. The Marine Corps, on the other hand, I think because their FOIA office is smaller, were pretty responsive to me. When I submitted the FOIA, they got right back to me. And, I had basically, they sent me a no records found about a month later or so. And I was sort of disappointed, thinking, well, what did I do wrong there? Surprisingly enough, though, another researcher reached out to me and he said, hey, I did a FOIA as well, Dave, and I got this document. So the Marines were sort of helpful, and I can kind of go into that conversation I had with them.
I do want to discuss that, because did you feel like you were calling them out, saying, hey, wait a minute, same FOIA request, somebody else got, a PPT, PowerPoint, and you're telling me there's no records found. So do you feel that forced their hand a little bit? Okay, all right, I guess we have to give it up. Or that maybe it was just a mistake on your part in your original request?
Well, what I did is I called the Marines, because the major that had written up the report, basically, or the FOIA report signed his name. So I just called his office and got him right on the phone. And frankly, I just said, hey, can you pull up this case number and take a look at it? He said, okay, yeah, I wrote that. And I'm like, well, there's no records found for this incident on the Kearsarge. Yep, I see that. And I go, okay, well, pull up this other case file. And he pulls up the other guy's case file. And then there's this kind of like pregnant pause for a while. He's like, and I said, well, sir, I don't know what the difference is between my FOIA and his, but can you just send me all responsive documents that he got? So he sent me this slide presentation that was mostly redacted. He called me like the next day. I talked to him, and he said that my mistake was that I used the word unauthorized, as in unauthorized drones, unauthorized, UAS, UAVs around the vessel. And the other guy just said, send me the documents about any kind of UAPs or UAVs without using the term unauthorized. And he almost insinuated that, the Kearsarge was out there conducting operations, counter drone technology, and that was my mistake. And I thought to myself, well, does this gent realize that in the slides it says UAP? That's an unauthorized object, right? It's an unidentified aerial phenomena. Maybe he didn't understand that that's not like a Navy drone, that a UAP is not supposed to be there. But nonetheless, I did eventually get the document, and it was sort of vindicating that the gent that had given me the story originally obviously told the truth. And here were slides that had diagrams, as rudimentary as they are, that showed the vessel and the position of these UAPs. All of the video and the photos, unfortunately, were blocked out, so you just see a redaction there.
Yeah, I've got one of the slides here. Let me bring this up really quick. So you're absolutely right, though. Right here, UAP movement is the title of this slide. I've seen the other slides too as well. I just have this one.
Yeah.
Everybody, but and here it is, UAP 1 and UAP 2, and I'm assuming this is the deck of the Kearsarge.
That's right, yeah, and the L. Mattis all-terrain vehicle would have been parked right there on the bow, the front of the flight deck, that was observing these unauthorized, I assume, unless the Marines are authorizing UAP to swarm the vessel. I assume they were unauthorized, but
correct. I'm with you on that. That's a safe bet right there. So, but here we have a slideshow, a slide presentation that was shown to somebody. We'll discuss that. But it clearly is labeling the two objects as UAPs, and the title of the slideshow is UAP movement.
Right. So this would have been, after the Marines that were on the deck had reported to their CO basically what happened. And it was explained to me that the L. Mattis truck there tried to, basically, look on radar and look in the FLIR system to try to see these objects, because that's what this truck does. They're supposed to pick them up on radar, and then once that happens, they can actively jam the control system of a drone. Technically, that's, speculating what this vehicle does. So I was told that vehicle could not pick these objects up, and they could not see them in the FLIR camera. They could only see them visually with their eyes. They could see the lights, and then with the camera, they could hold the camera up, or may have been the one on the truck, and they could pick the lights up with the camera. So they recorded the video. Yeah.
This is the transport that you're talking about right there.
Yeah, that is basically the L. Mattis, all-terrain vehicle parked on the deck of a Marine vessel.
But and that's a pretty sophisticated sensor system. This isn't a cell phone camera. This is way beyond that.
Yeah, so basically the ground-based air defense counter UAS system, L. Mattis Light Marine Air Defense Integrated System, is an air defense counter drone system featuring the Polaris M-Razor all-terrain vehicle with a RPS 42 S-band radar and a Sierra Nevada Modi electronic warfare system. That thing's badass.
Very cool. And this is sitting, like we just stated, on the bow, on the front of the Kearsarge.
Yep, that's right. Then they do that simply because when you have a Marine unit on board, these are like the low air defense guys, and so they'll park their vehicle out there, and when they're on land, they might park it, near their the rest of the guys. So
now let's talk about the incident itself. How long did it last? What was the presentation with the slideshow? So let's get to the incident itself.
Right. So, it's a little sketchy because I'm being told this story through somebody else, but what they said was that these objects were observed. I know for a fact that they were observed on one night. Again, I don't know if it happened again, like the next night. I'm unsure of that at this point. I am trying to get the deck logs of the vessel to see if there's any clues there, like Snoopy teams and so on that you saw in that other document. Mm-hmm. But we do know that it happened at one night, and we do know that at that point, these guys would have reported that to their chain of command. And most likely the Navy vessel, which has their own officers and their own intelligence section, as well as the Marine Corps' intelligence section, they would have been notified, and they probably were the ones that were involved in writing this report that got sent up. They the Marines that were on the ship may have even been, part of the presentation that we saw. Now, after we got the slideshow, that's all that came with it. There was no description of what this was from, where this was, who was involved. No, at this point, there were no emails. And I know that some of the other researchers are trying to find out, because obviously if there was a PowerPoint that was given, people were present. Some communication would have been involved as far as what this was for, who attended the meeting. Was this an in-person meeting or was this just sent to somebody? At the end of that slideshow, there's one slide that just says questions. And I can just imagine that would have been some type of, live meeting where whoever the presenter, the officer who's, giving the talk would have said, okay, does anybody have any questions? And that slide ends that deck.
Now, some of the facts in the case, let's just get to that. These lights, these UAPs, were only a half mile off of the ship. Now, a half mile in the open ocean is like in your backyard. That's right there. It's close. Approximately 200 feet in the air, and they also describe these objects about the size of a car, correct?
That's right. That's the description. I don't necessarily have the color of the lights. I don't think I was told that, but they said that these were about car size. Now, that makes me wonder, well, how did they know that? Because lights at night are very difficult to judge distance when you just have something against the night sky. Is it a big thing that is far away? Is it, a smaller thing that's close? And judging that, I'm not exactly sure how they determine the distance and the size.
You can do that with the Elmatis, I would think, and you have a radar system on board. So, and these apparently were solid objects. So that's what you do with the sensor system. You get altitude, speed, and distance.
Yeah, those are unknowns right now. The vessel itself would have definitely had a Combat Information Center. It would have had its own SBS-48 or SBS-49 air search radars. So they have a sophisticated air defense system on the ship aside from the Elmatis. So if there was an object that was, out there around the ship, you would imagine that they would have had it on radar.
Now, how far out from the shoreline was the Kearsarge?
Well, I don't have the GPS coordinates right now. I'm hoping the deck logs, if they're provided to me, they would provide a GPS coordinate of where the vessel was that week in October. The deck logs basically, every watch they list the GPS position, so we would get a very accurate read. I would imagine that it probably would be anywhere from 25, 50, 100 miles offshore.
Right. So if that's the case, a drone, I'm just talking about just a drone, military or civilian, commercial, private, whatever, operating that far out to sea seems highly unlikely, doesn't it?
It certainly does. The fact that the Marine Corps FOIA office sort of, pushed me in that direction, that's why they didn't, because that's why you didn't get anything, because it wasn't unauthorized, it was authorized. Well, I was told specifically that that's not the case, that the guys on the ship looked into that. They said the Navy and the Marines said, no, this is not a training operation. These are not our drones. If indeed they were, I would assume that they wouldn't be called UAPs in a slideshow, unidentified aerial phenomena. I wouldn't have heard the story.
It would have been UAV.
And I heard the story came from a pretty well-placed source on that ship, so it wasn't just like, some guys below deck that were joking around about it that saw a light and didn't really know what it was.
And the shackle movement, I find interesting. What did the crew member that you spoke to, how significant is that? Because it's intelligent control to me that they are operating together.
Right. I mean, I was trying to correlate that with other UAP reports to see if that was something that other people had ever witnessed or seen. And, I'm not sure if that's very prevalent with these things or if that's something that is, that type of movement is common recently. Are there other cases where you had two lights that were sort of synchronized with each other and they were like, moving, in that kind of movement? I'm not sure they understood what that meant either.
Did they? Okay. Now, does Because in the article, you specifically talk about a couple of things. At one, this is a training exercise. Could this be a test of the crew? Could this be a test of the equipment? Could their reaction? So your source, how did the Marines respond to this? Were they assuming this was some kind of training exercise, or their response, or was it something else?
Well, I mean, if you can imagine the guys that were on the deck in that vehicle, they thought probably this is some type of training exercise. They're just conducting one thing after another while they're out there, and maybe they weren't informed. I would assume that for most operations, they're told the next thing they're doing, but they saw these two lights out there, so they probably fired up the vehicle expecting to be able to see these objects on radar, and they can turn on their system that allows them to, I would assume, disable the control of a drone.
Right.
Maybe take control of it or something like that, or maybe have it force it to return back to its point of origin. And I was told that they just had no effect on their system, didn't have any effect on these objects whatsoever. And the really strange thing is that they couldn't see them in their night vision infrared camera system that they use. Obviously, once they're tracking an object, they can look at it in night vision and FLIR, thermal, and they were unable to see anything. It just was like nothing was there. It was only visible optically, which is very interesting because
that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That makes zero sense.
Right. So, I mean, again, this is coming from somebody just explaining what happened to me, saying they couldn't get a FLIR, read on these things, but they could get them with the camera. So then he said that what they did is they contacted the Navy or whoever's in charge of these training evolutions. They're probably their chain of command, and they said, hey, we saw your drones last night. We couldn't get them on radar or whatever. We couldn't get them on the FLIR system, but we did get video of them for you. And then the response was, those weren't ours.
Holy crap. The reason why I'm reacting this way, night vision is picking up light. Okay? It's amplifying light. I'm talking about so I know how they operate. So you can see stuff in the dark, and you're seeing stars that you normally can't see. You look up and it's like, whoa, right?
Yeah.
Now, so if you are picking up stuff optically and are able to video these objects and you're seeing them with your eyes, you should see them clear as day through night vision.
Well, it could be that they were using like forward-looking infrared and it wasn't thermal. I'm uncertain about that specific point. So it could have been like a FLIR system that was looking at infrared,
yeah, but the Snoopy teams, those guys all have night vision.
Right. So again, I can't tell you exactly what they filmed this object with, other than I know for a fact that was the first thing that was told to me, that they did film it, and that the reason why I knew that was because somebody had looked in the SIPRNet or the secret internet that the DoD uses and actually found the video. And they said that it wasn't that impressive. It was sort of lights in the sky, so to speak. But they did confirm it. So that was the first time somebody said, okay, well, they definitely did send that video to UAP task force or whatever, and it's logged in that network.
So for it to, this is where you put on your detective hat, right? Your gumshoe hat. If it goes from like a training exercise with drones to the UAP task force, now we're talking about unidentified aerial phenomenon, and the reports are now being filed and sent over to the UAP task force. This isn't known drones. They weren't able to disable it. They weren't able to use their sensor system on it. So therefore, we have a bona fide UAP, and this went to the task force.
Yeah, that's correct. And I'm really curious to see what the Navy says, because I believe that the Marine Corps probably is following the Navy guidelines and the classification guidelines for reporting UAPs. So the Marines may have their own, rules, so to speak, but they may be saying, okay, we're going to go with the Navy, and when we have a UAP incident, we're going to follow and submit the reports as we've been directed to do by the Navy. So it could be that that report specifically went to the Navy. It's interesting that the Marine Corps had the PowerPoint. So I guess that, the 22nd MEU, the Marine Expeditionary Unit, did have some documents. It could be that the rest of the report is in the hands of the Navy, and I'm curious to see if I get a no records found or if they do find classified documents related to it.
Do you ever work with John Greenwald on cases like this?
Sure, yeah. I mean, John and I have been talking about this case behind the scenes. I explained to him, sort of the reaction with the Marines, and we talked a little bit about the appeal process, the fact that, I got a no records, response, and obviously there were records, so it could be that they just didn't look that hard. And, the other indication that I got was sort of like this. It was kind of like, Dave, listen, you're not going to get anything with this. There may be some stuff, but it's all classified. So, do yourself a favor and, just realize that, there's probably a few emails out there, but if you do get them, they're just going to be completely blacked out. So, and here's another interesting point. Here's another interesting thing that happened is once the story kind of came out, I don't think that the Marines were too happy about it, that this had come out in the press.
And first off, John Greenwald, right? That's the guy you want on the case. He's got his mysterious ways, and it's such a complex. And you've been doing FOIA for a long time, and you've enjoyed your own frustrations with it, and you have to stay on it. You can't. You know what I mean? You've got to go through the appeals process. And if anybody can navigate this, it's John Greenwald. There's got to be a paper trail for this. And if it went to the UAP task force, there's a lot of stuff there. There is data, and I would love to see this video. And I'm very curious how one or multiple sensor systems didn't pick it up, but you could optically. And you're a cinematographer. You know those differences. That's really strange.
Yeah, it's really strange. Another curious thing that kind of piqued my interest was, do you remember during the UAP hearings, the open hearings, when they discussed the drone swarms and they showed some night vision cameras? And then I believe it was Scott Bray said, oh, and by the way, there's also video from the East Coast where drones swarmed one of our warships just recently. He says something like that. And I was wondering, if that's the Kearsarge that he's mentioning there.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Now, back before we get to the break, your contact on this, I don't want to call him a whistleblower, but your contact, was your contact part, did he witness the lights himself?
No, the gent that contacted me is a retired Marine Corps officer that just happened to have friends that are still enlisted, still active duty, that were on the vessel.
Yeah, okay. But that's my question. I understand the retired, but the ones that are speaking to him, right. Were they eyewitnesses?
I believe that they heard it from people that would have been under them. So in other words, they were highly placed. They weren't just like the cook, put it that way. They were somebody that would know, that would have been in a position to pretty much know the whole story.
Now,
but I don't think they saw it. I don't know. I don't actually know the answer to that,
right.
But I don't think they witnessed this. It was just these Marines that were out there with that Al Mattis truck.
Now, what's your gut on this one?
It's still like a mystery right now. It's very unusual based on the type of reports that were filed and the PowerPoint slides. It seems to me that it's sort of mimicking what happened in 2019 off San Diego, where the destroyers were swarmed by these unknown drones that were small, lights that came around. I don't know that the Navy knows what they are, and I don't know that the Marine Corps, the Navy, knows what these objects were out there in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, and one last point before we take our break here. It wasn't one shackle turn, by the way. It was shackle turns, as in plural. So would that indicate to you almost like a double helix, DNA strand, that they were actually doing this?
Yeah, I mean, again, without talking to a primary witness, and the person that I'm talking to said, when these guys get back from deployment, some people are retiring, some people are going to talk about this. You get a bunch of Marines like off the ship, and somebody's going to leak this stuff. So it'd be interesting to hear what they actually saw in person. And the fact that if you look at the diagram, it looks like these things were all over, in front of the ship. So
Right. Very interesting case. And again, if we just get to the basics of what we have, talking about a half mile off the ship, 200 feet altitude, and about the size of a car. So they were able to, this is very close to the ship. It's low in altitude. It's not up at 5,000 or 10,000 feet where you're guessing. It's low. It's 200 feet. It's right off the surface of the ocean. It's a half mile away. And they got a clear look at these objects, Dave. I don't think there's any other way to look at it. Do you?
No. And I mean, think about it. I mean, you might say, well, okay, well, that's explainable. But really, I think the guys on the ships thought that too. They're like, hey, look, that must be the Navy, or they're messing with us. Let's get our vehicle going. But then they learn later that, hey, guys, that wasn't us. Those are not our vehicle. We don't know who was flying those objects.
Which, again, is very similar to what happened here on the West Coast with those drones. They weren't ours. They didn't come from shore. They didn't come from the island. Nobody knows. It must have come from that catamaran. If you remember, right? Nobody wanted to admit that that those were their drones.
Right. And let's just not completely eliminate the possibility of a foreign adversary. And I know that a lot of people want to speculate and say, well, that has to be what it is then. It has to be Chinese vessels that maybe are, they're using civilian merchant vessels or cargo ships in the shipping channels. And they have sophisticated drone, airports that are on these vessels. And, the hatch opens up and all these drones fly out, and then they spy on Marine Corps training off the coast. I mean, it's possible, I assume, but I don't know. I mean, it just seems kind of far-fetched that China is doing that so far away.
Oh, you would get caught. You would get caught. That would be an international woofa. You would get caught. And the other thing, I've got to take a break in 10 seconds. I've also pictured maybe a Russian sub, surfacing and launching these and then retrieving them and then going back beneath the waves. So that was another thought too. It's a possibility, but that would be a really big deal. And that's a really huge roll of the dice if you're an adversary and you get caught doing that. International waters or not. Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, Dave Beaty. Oh, by the way, is it Beaty or Beaty?
Well, I just tell people think of Warren Beatty or Ned Beatty.
Okay. It's all over the place with you. We'll be right back after this short break.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and this year, June 18th, 2022, the Disclosure Fest Foundation presents the Mass Meditation Initiative. It's Saturday, June 18th from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., one day only at the Los Angeles State Historic Park in downtown Los Angeles, California, right next to Chinatown. I'm hosting the event again this year with music performances by Trevor Hall, The Desert Dwellers, pour on ghee, and many, many more on 4 separate stages. There's 16 stages in total, over 30 acres in downtown Los Angeles, with vendors and tents and presentations and workshops with Billy Carson, Adam Apollo, Lori Spagna, Laura Eisenhower, Brad Olson, David Palmer, and many, many more. It's all simple to do. Just go to disclosurefest.org for all of your tickets, information, and the full schedule of the day's events. Again, disclosurefest.org. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dave Beaty is with us. Oh, man. We're covering 3 different incidents tonight. We just talked about the USS Kearsarge. I think more about this event is going to break loose. Now that it's out, we're going to find out more and more, and I'm very curious about the UAP task force, of course. Next, let me bring Dave back in. We're going to cover an event, and I want to jump into this really quick because we've got a special guest that we're about to bring on with us. That this event took place around 2004, and I'm going to let you explain as quickly as possible about the date, but it involves the aircraft carrier, the USS Ronald Reagan. So, Dave, what do we know right now?
Well, basically, you know, that this was a multi-mass sighting of a UAP or an object over this supercarrier, a brand new showroom, you know, fresh aircraft carrier that was out in the Atlantic Ocean. And we're trying to pin down the date of when this event would have happened. And it's a long time ago. The people that are involved hadn't talked about it in decades, and or at least a decade or so. And frankly, they don't remember specifically what day it was. And I tell people that find that kind of hard to believe. I go, well, can you remember?
Ask me about Halloween in 2004. I got nothing for you, man.
Right.
I got nothing more. I don't know what day of the week it was, or I couldn't tell you. Christmas, let alone anything else like that. It's a long time ago. But this is very cool what we're about to do, because we have Carl Olashak with us. And Carl, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, Jimmy. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, this is a very special. Dave is with us. You can say hi to Dave. This is very special because Carl, you were the quartermaster, navigator, right? You were the quartermaster on board the USS Ronald Reagan, and I'm going to get straight to this because I've just got you for one segment. How do you remember the event in your mind? We'll get to the date in a second, but how incredible was it? What happened?
I mean, it was, the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Something that I spent the next 15 or so years of my life thinking about and reflecting on. I don't think a picture would have done it justice. Let's say that.
How many? Okay, I'm going to rapid fire some questions at you. When you start to hear about the Nimitz, right, in 2004, and this break into the media and the video and pilots and crew members and guided, the Princeton, did you go, wait a minute, same thing happened to us, right? Is that what went through your mind?
I mean, it gets weird in the mind when you're looking up at the sky and you've seen things in the sky before, and the event has really reshaped the way I look at reality. So, with what the government has disclosed, I wrote an article, and that's how Dave found me. I wrote an article including some of my shipmates who had been egging me on to write about this for years, because many of us had seen this indescribable thing, and we figured it was our turn to come forward as witnesses.
Okay, so what did you see, Carl? What do you remember?
A hovering orb that kept pace with us at about 22 knots. For the entirety of my watch.
8 hours?
I think my watch might have been 6 hours.
Okay, a long time.
Good long watches back then.
Now, for those of us out there, I'm a military brat, but I don't know everything about everything. But an aircraft carrier, any aircraft carrier, but part of our U.S. Navy, it's not out there by itself, is it?
I mean, that's always been the strange thing for me, because we go to darkened ship, and I always wondered what it is that we're afraid of when we're out in the middle of the ocean by ourselves. And that makes me wonder how much the military does know of what we should be afraid of when we're out in the middle of the ocean, but because the ocean is vast, and I guess I wondered what it is that the greatest Navy in the world is afraid of, why we go to darkened ship.
Right. And so where was the approximate position and location?
I believe, piecing this together, that we were right above the Bermuda Triangle, not actually we were right above Bermuda, and probably not that far above Bermuda. And, piecing this together, that my sighting started at around 7th, we start going to darkened ship about 45 minutes before sunset. Mm-hmm. So it was in that time of when the light starts getting low that, there it was. I mean, it was there when I came on watch.
Now, when you say my sighting, if you're quartermaster, you've got how many people around you?
I believe there's about 20 people, 25 people on the bridge at the time, and probably some looky-loos, some people just up there just hanging out.
So all 20 of you, were you all in a holy crap moment for 6 hours?
Well, this is the strange thing. Not everybody was.
Continue.
That's always been the strange thing for me. And
Right.
For me, as an enlisted sailor, as opposed to commissioned officers, I've always delineated it like that. That it seemed that the enlisted sailors were freaking out, and the commissioned officers were very at ease with it. For the most.
Why do you? Okay, you've had time.
I don't know how to explain
why. Yeah, that's interesting. In that. They've been through this already.
This is the question. Why did we not call general quarters? I mean, I never told my chain of command about this because, it was kind of like, how much in a hurry am I to make myself ridiculous? Right. They told me not to log it, and the officer of the deck is okay with it. And if the officer of the deck is okay with it, I've been brainwashed to believe that I'm okay with it too.
Oh, okay. And you know what? That's part of the gig.
Right.
All right. Okay. I can go with that. Now let's get to some specifics. They said not to log it. Did you have an approximate distance and altitude, and was radar ever involved with this?
The radar is right next to me when I'm at the chart table, so I don't think it would have shown up on radar because it was right on top of us. It was like there's a catapult to right in front of me, right on the island, and it's launching planes, and the thing is just sitting there. Sorry, don't mean to put my hands up. The thing is just sitting there, and I mean, I can't say it's watching us because it doesn't have eyes, but it's there, like I don't know what it is, and I don't know why we haven't called it general quarters. And it's like I've said in Dave's documentary that it was kind of, like the Emperor's New Clothes, that, like I, as an enlisted sailor, have been trained to follow the brass. And if they're at ease, then I have to be at ease too. And not only do I have to be at ease, I have to put other people that are enlisted at ease as well. Like, see, they think it's okay. It's okay,
Now, any movement?
Not that I saw. My shipmate Patrick Goki saw. He was on watch on starboard forward. That's on the right-hand side, and he definitely saw movement. And then he went to the aft of the ship and he saw it again. And he describes that it was doing half circles. I believe he says that it did 2 half circles. No, between me and Patrick, and even with me and Derek, there is discrepancies within our testimony. We all agreed that it happened.
Of course.
But it was over 15 years ago. And, I stand by my testimony, but if I'm proven wrong, the thing happened. If details are proven wrong, then I'll go with,
I'm going to make this statement. I'm going to 30 seconds. I was witness to a terrible motorcycle accident. Okay. I was standing on the corner. I saw the entire thing. Right. But so did probably 8 or 10 other people. I had the police coming back to me, Carl. Okay, what they're saying? I said, dude, I don't care what they're saying. I'm telling you, I saw it. It was 8 different directions, 8 different things. And it was crazy to me how, but no matter what everybody else said, and the police kept asking me to repeat, what I saw is what I saw. It was just so strange to me how so many different people, including the lady that was in the car where this happened right in front of her, she had the exact opposite description of the accident than what I gave. and we were right next to each other. So I get that. People are going to have different descriptions to the same event. What about altitude? Were you, if you were going to guess?
I would say that I'm on the, I think the 10th floor of the island. So it would have been at eye level for me when I'm standing up there, so it was far enough away from me.
Are you saying, okay, so the island
it was on top of us. It was on top of us. That's why, it always puzzled me, the lack of response, I guess.
Now I am even more puzzled. This is getting more and more interesting. The location, you said it was off the coast of Bermuda. Hey, Dave, unmute yourself for a second.
Yo.
Isn't it interesting? And I know that you picked up on this. In the Bermuda area, where we have been getting reports of, the Navy probably knows the exact entrance and exit point out there where these UAPs seem to be coming and going. Do you think that there's a connection?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I know that it's been talked about that, the location of some of the training ranges where the aircraft, go into the ranges and exit the ranges, they seem to actually, these UAPs be waiting there for the aircraft,
right,
which is very strange.
Yeah. And Carl, this is 2004. Aircraft carrier, right? Battle group. Very similar, two different coasts, with the Nimitz, but the timing of it must say something to you, right? That these events are very similar. They involve an aircraft carrier, and it's the same time.
I don't know what to think of it. For me, I really started to think about this. I definitely thought about it in New York, and I was like, I found myself thinking that this has to say something about the nature of reality more so than a visitation, but that's my personal viewpoint. I don't know. I have theories that I'm not willing to share publicly. Let's say.
Oh, no, share. That's my job. I'll get those theories out of you. You should. But interesting in that, do your theories line up with some of the other reports in the media, the way that this has been covered?
I think that the reason why they changed from UFO to UAP, there's an academic explanation for that, that you would apply a methodology of phenomenology to this if you can't isolate it as an object, which kind of speaks to this crazy world that we had no idea that we were living in. We keep getting these little peeps into how crazy the world actually is.
It ain't what you think it is. No, that's for sure. It's certainly not. Now, you were ordered not to log this.
I asked. It wasn't. I don't think that there was the attitude was more lackadaisical than There was no hysteria on the bridge outside for the enlisted people, and there was more there's always more officers on the bridge than enlisted people. Yeah.
Now, was there any follow-up? Was there any debriefing? And I know that you guys go through that every single day, and you go through the day's activities. Was this brought up again?
You never know who to talk to in the military, who you can be honest with, and who you cannot be honest with. But I did have years later the opportunity to ask one of the officers what the reaction was in the officers' mess, because we're so segregated. It's like the oldest class system out there. So what the reaction was in the officers' mess, and he's like, no reaction, nothing. They didn't care. And it's like, how do you not care? Like, how do you see something like that and then just go? But I mean, I went on for 15 years without coming forward. So I guess I went on as business as usual as well.
Was this, what was the color of this light?
I like orange or yellow orangish.
Really?
Dave really had some good mock-ups in his CGI. I really like the I think it's the Sun Times, their mock-up. I thought that their mock-up was really good. Yeah.
Now, isn't that's curious?
When I talked to the other sailors involved, my friends, and they all are really impressed, especially with Dave's mock-up.
He's really good. Hey, Dave, do you have we can do it after the break. You can get it ready. If you want, you can share it with us. Do you have it?
Yeah, I can pull this up
Okay.
into StreamYard for you.
Yeah, we'll do it after the break. Now, Carl, you did 15 more years. Did you have another incident?
I did. I had another UAP encounter when I was moved to Michigan. I graduated from the New School in New York in 2011, and then I got a job in Detroit working in renewable energy. And this one night, actually after I resigned from my job, me and my friend were, I believe, close to Crawford, Michigan. And we were just sitting out there by this lake walking these dogs, and I swear I saw 30 of these things. And I'm like, is it possible that once you see it once, that there's something in the realm of probability? I really, randomness is just an idea, like it's a concept, maybe once you see one, you're more likely to see others. But yeah, after that, I can really tell, like when I go on YouTube and I can see what the fake ones, there's definitely like fake YouTube videos and then there's real ones. And you can definitely tell, like what the disinfo is as opposed to the real one. And there's just tons of them. Because I've been waiting all my life, because when they launched YouTube, I was like, cool. Finally, when somebody records a UFO, we'll have it on YouTube. Unfortunately, that's not the way it worked, because there's just, so much content out there.
Yeah, there is a lot of content out there. Is this something that has been a paradigm shift for you? If we go pre-2004, did you have any interest in UFOs?
I mean, I was always fearful of the idea. I had nightmares about UFOs as a child. I don't know. I mean, like, because, but I was interested. Yeah, of course. And when I went into the Navy, I was definitely, I mean, I spent a lot of time in the middle of the ocean, no light pollution, staring up at the sky. And I never saw nothing except this one time in 2004 when we were doing hurricane avoidance. And that's a strange thing, because we were out in the middle of the ocean and I was like, if there's something, I'm sure to see it out here. And never did I see anything outside of in that spot.
Did you do your initial training at Great Lakes in Chicago?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. You ready? I was born at Great Lakes.
Nice.
No, I was born at Great Lakes Naval. Yeah. My dad was in the Army, and just south of Great Lakes is Fort Sheridan, which is decommissioned. But so we were at Fort Sheridan, but there's no hospital. The hospital's up at Great Lakes. So that's where all the pregnant moms went from the Army up to Great Lakes. So I was born at Great Lakes Naval Station. So there you go. Now, what was your? I know that you're a quartermaster. In your training at Great Lakes, did UFOs ever come up? What to do in the open ocean if you have an encounter?
No.
Not at all, right?
No, I mean, I feel like a lot of my training had to deal with how to deal with stress. Like Navy training, especially the smart Navy, it has to do with breaking you down constantly.
That's the military in general, man. Well, I don't know. Civilian life is breaking you down too, as well.
These days, especially.
Yeah, exactly. And how are you today, though? And when I ask you about this paradigm shift, where now, you had the initial encounter in 2004 and this other one later in Michigan. Where are you today in this? Do you think we're being visited by something we can't explain?
Or something that's always been here.
Right. I mean,
that's kind of where I lean towards.
Sure.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm open to ideas, and I have my own, but it's like, I think we have to be smarter about it. We keep trying to do the same things instead of trying something new. I think, like, for instance, I was thinking about this in Michigan. They have these big smell machines. We keep record smells. We keep trying to take pictures of these things, but maybe that's not how to record them. Like, maybe there's other ways.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And what would be here's the trippy part. I mean, if I was going to go trippy, and Dave, I want to talk to you about this after the break. And Carl, thank you for taking the time tonight. But is this, what would be more terrifying? What would freak out the world more? ET is visiting us all the time, or they've been living next to us and we never knew?
Yeah.
Right. What would freak people out? You know what? I think that if something has been living here and we're just now finding out about it, that's going to freak some people out. I think we can accept little green men all day long. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't know. I don't know which way this is going to fall. And it may be a mix of both, of course. Right. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think I know I would kind of trip out a little bit if I was made aware of something that has been living here, hidden from us since the beginning of everything. That's pretty frightening. Carl, that was pointed at you, but
well, I mean, I think that there's two things that we're afraid of. One of which has to do with death, and the other one is that question of, are we alone? If we've never been alone, it's surreal, and that's kind of, I guess that's what happens to you if you are an experiencer. Like, the world just becomes a little more surreal. I mean, it doesn't become any more magical. I wish it was.
I have a question for Carl, real quick.
Sure.
And Jimmy, you may not know this, but after Carl left the Navy and he put in a number of years in the reserves and so on, he sort of like switched his idea about war and kind of talk about paradigm. He began, being an activist and anti-war person. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about. I don't know if this UAP.
I apologize. I should have expanded. Like I said, I don't know in my life how much I can sum up to reality, how much I can sum up to the whole of my story, the one UFO incident. But like, I really changed my mind about war when I got to New York. And, and I'd like to say that a lot of that has to do with this experience. And I know Patrick, he was my partner when we started Soldiers for the Cause. .org, and that is an anti-war website which was built as an affinity group for Occupy Wall Street. And we got the support of universities like NYU and the New School to basically get vets to protest against Wall Street bankers at the time. But what this turned into me was adopting this whole anti-war culture. I didn't realize how much of an anti-war culture there was, and how UFOs really tied into this idea that we are weaponizing space, and we have been for a while. And
And now we have the Space Force, and what is involved there. You know what, Carl, I would love to bring you back for another show, and we'll just sit and chat about this all night long. It's something that interests me greatly, and that includes our audience. So again, thank you so much. And
thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Time. Yeah, this is a great conversation tonight. Thank you so much, Carl. Behave and be well. And then we'll bring you back for a full show. Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Carl. Amazing conversation tonight. I need to jump right into a break. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Dave Beaty. Thank you, Carl Olshak. And we will be right back. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, BX.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and this year, June 18th, 2022, the Disclosure Fest Foundation presents the Mass Meditation Initiative. It's Saturday, June 18th from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., one day only at the Los Angeles State Historic Park in downtown Los Angeles, California, right next to Chinatown. I'm hosting the event again this year with music performances by Trevor Hall, The Desert Dwellers, Poran Gi, and many, many more on 4 separate stages. There's 16 stages in total, over 30 acres in downtown Los Angeles, with vendors and tents and presentations and workshops with Billy Carson, Adam Apollo, Lori Spagna, Laura Eisenhower, Brad Olson, David Palmer, and many, many more. It's all simple to do. Just go to disclosurefest.org for all of your tickets, information, and a full schedule of the day's events. Again, disclosurefest.org.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony. Damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. That's incredible. Thank you, Carl Olashak. That 2004 USS Ronald Reagan, north of Bermuda, and that right there, for me, just sends up all those flags because of some of the other information that we've been getting over the last 3 or 4 years, and these comments about the possibility of the exact location of what may be happening out there is known to the United States Navy. The timing, this 2004 number, Dave, that's not coincidence. It can't be, right?
It's really strange. And, you know, when I was looking into this case, one of the strangest things that I discovered was that the same squadron that encountered the Tic Tacs off the coast of San Diego in 2004 was actually embarked on the USS Ronald Reagan in May of 2004. And I was like, wait a second, that must be a mistake. I got to look at this again now.
Right.
And I started looking at the cruise book, and wow, man, there's David Fravor, Commander David Fravor, and Jim Slate, and these other guys were in the cruise book. Now, this would have been, later on in 2004 when, but I am not sure if Commander Fravor, these guys were actually on board the USS Ronald Reagan when this stuff went down. Because in May of 2004, the Black Aces and, VFA 41 embarked about 25% of their aircraft onto the ship. And the reason why they did that is because Ronald Reagan was a brand new aircraft carrier that had not been assigned its permanent port yet, nor had it been assigned its complete air wing. So when the Ronald Reagan was about to transit from Norfolk to San Diego, where it became its permanent port, they embarked the Black Aces on the vessel.
Now, unpacking Carl's comments, very interesting, because when you are, I want everybody to understand, when he says the island, so you have your aircraft carrier, and we all see the tall building that's in the middle of the aircraft carrier. That's your flight command, your control center. Everything else is done there. It's where the captain is, right? Everybody's hanging out. And when he says 10th floor, yes, that's a 10-story building. And then at the top of that, it's just like any tower at an airport, where you've got everybody that's doing the flight control, and everything else, the navigation of the ship is happening. They have the windows that are tilted out. They can see the flight line. And he was just describing in front of him, because he's looking forward, the catapults are in front of him. So that's where he's at. He's got a great vantage point. But that this orb was at right above that level, like they could see it, and it was there for 6 hours.
Yeah,
but to have that not go into the logbook, why? Now, I don't want to hear from Carl. What's your opinion on that? Why would they not? Why would that? That seems like that should. That's exactly what you want in the log.
So, I've personally talked to 5 people that had eyes on this thing. And of the people that were sort of involved with the logging, another gent said the same thing. And they almost felt that it was sort of a stigma thing, where logging it they would have had to answer to their senior officer about what this is. And usually in those chains of command, if you have a problem in the Navy, you want to have the solution if you bring that to your commander, for instance, whoever your lead petty officer or the chief above you is. So there was kind of a resistance to log it according to these guys. And it wasn't because it was some cover up. It was like, don't put that in there, man. Are you crazy? Like, it's almost like the stigma. And Carl talked about, the captain too. Like, no one told the captain, the last thing we did was go wake up the captain,
right.
And he said the only time they woke up the captain is when they almost hit a buoy one time. But the UAP thing hovering over the carrier didn't seem to really rattle anybody. It's a very odd thing. And all these different witnesses that I talked to kind of echoed that same thing, and I don't understand it. I mean, was it because some people said they were so busy and they were working, 16-hour days with no sleep in these shifts, and that really you're like, oh yeah, look at the UFO, and then you just kind of like went back to your bunk or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there could have been some of that, or was there also some type of hypnotic effect that just made people feel like, hey, nothing to worry about, I don't know.
It's not firing on us.
Yeah.
And he one other interesting point, though, that it was inside the sensor area, right? It's inside the radar. So it can't be. It's so close, Dave, that the sensors that are used to picking up missiles or other ships or other aircraft from distance, this was so close, it was inside the sensor ranges. That's pretty trippy.
Within the, if you have a radar, there's going to be radar clutter around the radar, close to the radar. But one witness did say that they were talking to the Tactical Operations Center and that she believed that they did have it on radar when it departed, or maybe when it was, further away from the ship, because this witness basically said that she saw the thing shoot off into the clouds. And, as Carl mentioned, his friend saw something similar. So she said that when that happened, that they seemed to be interested in the, in the Combat Information Center on the carrier.
Right. Incredible. Okay, so we've got your animation, your computer generated. I'm going to pull this up and walk us through this.
Yeah. So in interviewing Carl and working with Carl, I was doing 3D animation and compositing to try to recreate what they were describing. And so the YouTube video that I have on my channel basically has his story that's illustrated with these graphics. And this was sort of one of the, final iterations of what he was describing to me. I kept updating it and trying to, understand what they were describing, that the surface was burning and boiling and looked like it was on fire. One of the witnesses said it looked like a mini sun, or the science videos of a close-up of the sun. One guy said it looked like it was a gaseous. So that's kind of my iteration of it. And I could show you some other animations here that are maybe a little more illustrative. So this just kind of, I believe, rotates around to show that, the object was sort of hovering over the bow of the aircraft carrier. See if I can make this bigger for you. Let's see. Right. So it wasn't like, it wasn't like the sun or the moon or something. This thing was over the deck, and a bunch of the people said they were launching planes. Some people said that they weren't launching aircraft at the time, that had concluded, and that the object was there and they were putting away the planes. So there's a little discrepancy by some of the people whether, definitely there was aircraft being launched while this thing was hovering over the ship, which would have been a concern for the aviators, I'm sure. So
Right.
But then, again, no one seems to be paying attention on the bridge. the UAP's hovering over, and they're just kind of hanging out. And here's another one. Lots of people were on the flight deck. These guys were looking down from the high up on 50 feet up in the island, the superstructure, looking down, and these guys were on the flight deck, kind of looking up at this thing, that's hovering over the deck. So I mean, this is a visual representation that I created of what these witnesses said they witnessed, and for the life of me, I really can't explain it. I mean, and the thing I can't explain is, first of all, the seeming lack of response. And, some people apparently weren't aware of it. But I guess on a ship of 6,000 people, it's possible that, not everyone knew about this.
You really bring it to life. I mean, this is crazy to me. And you really bring it to life here.
Right. I mean, that's just, these graphics really help illustrate kind of what were they doing? What were they looking at? They were on the bridge. They were looking out. This is what probably they were seeing. It's pretty incredible.
Now, he said, Carl, and I'm sure the other witnesses said the same thing, but Carl just said, if I'm understanding him correctly, that this paced the ship at 22 knots for 6 hours. It stayed with them. It was tracking them.
Right. Many of the witnesses reported that the object seemed not to be moving, even though the vessel was moving. So normally, if they were doing air ops, they would be doing 22 knots. But 20 knots is a common speed that they would be cruising along at, and this object was pacing the ship. And then, obviously, there were also movements, and several witnesses reported this thing shooting off into the sky at blistering speeds. No one that I talked to actually saw it arrive. They saw it, their attention was directed to it, maybe because somebody else was looking at it. They were out on the outside of the bridge on the starboard forward lookout post.
Right.
And they saw people looking up, and then their attention would be drawn to it, and then they would see it from that position. And at that point they were like, here's an animation I did that shows kind of like they're outside and they come walking around, and there's this thing.
Right. Now, and the way that you set this up, I'm going to tell you the way it feels to me. So it looks like it's above the ship, maybe a quarter mile in front, not very far. So that would make this object, and again, this is from what I'm seeing here, maybe 100 to 200 feet in diameter. Is that? Am I in the ballpark?
The people that reported this thought that it might be the size of a jet, which is going to be about 40 feet wide. So that was kind of the estimate that they were giving. They thought maybe this object was directly above the bow, 200 feet in the air. And if that would be the case, it would be, in my animation, that's about a 40-foot wide object.
That's 50 feet. Yeah. So directly above the bow.
Yeah.
10 stories up. That's 100 feet in the air. And now we're talking about something. I was thinking it was further out. That's why I was saying 200 feet. But if it's directly above the bow, we're talking about a solid object that was 50 feet in diameter above the ship for 6 hours. Carl said when he started his watch, it was already there.
Yeah, Carl's the only one that I have talked to that has the lengthy sighting. The other people were the deck department. They were the lookouts that were moving around during their watches. They would rotate, so they might be in one location for an hour. They would rotate to the next watch location and continue that throughout there. Those individuals said that they thought that the sighting lasted within minutes, that sometimes they don't remember it leaving, so they only recall seeing it for a few minutes. The girl that said that she saw it leaving only saw it for a few minutes. The one sailor that was named Patrick, he saw it for a few minutes on the starboard forward lookout position, and he saw it from the fantail position as well. But both times they were relatively quick. Carl was the only one that, that was staring out from the bridge for his entire watch that said that it was there.
I can't take my eyes off this animation. Yeah, this is, you really bring it to, this is something that, and Carl's right, we've got to think about this from another mindset here. What is actually going on?
I was surprised to learn that this is very common, that this type of UAP or UFO, red fireball, is actually quite common and often involves very unusual circumstances. The first cases that I came across were nuclear weapons storage areas.
Sure.
In the 60s and 70s, there's a case out of Maine in the early 70s where Air Force personnel at a weapons storage area at an Air Force base in Loring, Maine, witnessed an object just like this in the description, hovering about 5 feet in the air near one of the weapons storage areas. This guy, has like a notarized statement that saw this on the record, basically. This kind of was investigated as a mystery of these incursions over these sensitive areas. Very similar object was sighted mentioned in the open hearings, Maelstrom Air Force Base, and then messing with the Minuteman nuclear weapon flights. And, this type of object was hovering over the gate of Oscar and Echo flights of Malmstrom Air Force Base, at least according to the witnesses. Other cases like some abduction cases, missing time, I know that have been, reported when these objects like this are, in particular are encountered. Now, again, I don't know if this is like, some kind of non-human thing. This could be something else entirely not related to this, but it's pretty strange,
Yeah, it's very strange. I mean, could it be natural? Could it be some kind of atmospheric? Could it be some type of stationary ball lightning, some kind of natural plasma? But it's over the open ocean. And where he's talking about north of Bermuda, now, well, you're going to have ships and aircraft once in a while, but basically you are alone for hundreds of miles in every direction. So this wouldn't have been launched from something else. This isn't a UAV or anything else. It's a very unique description. It also, you know what it reminds me of? I'm just going to go there. Has no connection. But your animation reminds me of the intelligence at the beginning of The Fifth Element. Do you know?
I think I know I've seen that like years ago, and somebody else I think brought that up too, based on this animation.
Right.
And it kind of triggers this image right here triggers stuff in certain people that have like also seen similar things, and they're like, dude, that was exactly what I saw out in the desert in like 87 or whatever. So I don't know what that is, but it's pretty strange. In the article that I wrote, Jimmy, I tried to look at prosaic explanations. One thing would be, well, this was some type of secret test, and that's the reason why the officers weren't reacting. It probably was some type of balloon or cloaking device. Maybe it was, more recently, plasmas, laser-induced plasmas that are being generated in the sky as spoofing for incoming missiles. Now, I don't know if that was operational in 2004, but the guys that I talked to that were there and were out on the ship looking at this thing said they didn't see any, bat signal generator on the deck or any kind of like projection device that would have been out right in front of them projecting this in the sky. So they kind of discounted the fact that this was a secret test.
Yeah, I can't take my eyes off of this. Yeah, somebody just said, hey, do you have the stones? 1, 2, 3, 4 stones. Oh, man. The Fifth Element. What a great movie. Before we move on to the Apache, and this is also an important piece of video. According to Carl's statement, that there wasn't anything in the deck logs, which seems to me that there wasn't, if the captain wasn't made aware, that there may not be a paper trail on this one.
I don't think so. I mean, unless, there was radar and it was, in the combat information or the Civic, the intelligence center was tracking this and doing something. It could have been, reported and wrapped up in classification that we won't ever see.
What about video? I mean, you would think
there would be video.
Crew members would be shooting this on their cell phones.
Most people didn't. In 2004, most people, might have had a Motorola or something. I don't know that it had a good camera.
Right.
The vessel itself would have definitely had video cameras on the flight deck. So you would assume there would be ones that are pointing forward. We've all seen the ones of F-18's landing, and these are used for training and crash investigation. They record.
Everything. Yeah,
they record everything.
Yeah, they don't stop.
We'd assume there would be video. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an incredible incident. I mean, I'm just blown away. If we just get to the facts of this, like over the bow, 100 feet in the air, a 50-foot glowing, flaming orb, for at least 6 hours, is pacing with a nuclear aircraft carrier. That this is not only a significant event, but there's got to be some data. I like the way he said, now that I've seen your recreation, it is too close for radar, right? It just, the radar's looking past it. It's not focused there.
Right. It's very close. I mean, and one of the things about this case, it's so crazy, is, people will say, look, man, I mean, this is BS. This guy is lying, man. This is like, they made up this story, Dave. The fact is, like, okay, you might think, okay, this is so outlandish that they just had to make this story up, and that's why this is crazy. But if you start talking to individuals, and some people that perhaps were not really part of the original group that was, talking about this online, Carl and Patrick, if you start bridging out to other people that saw this thing and talking to them, they hadn't talked to anybody in years. And frankly, I mean, if you talk to somebody for an hour or so, you kind of get the idea whether they're pulling your leg or if they're actually telling you what they believe and it's from the heart. You're asking them questions, they're answering them. And I got the feeling that the people that I spoke with were just from the heart, basically saying, hey, man, I can't believe no one ever asked about this. This, is crazy. And I'm glad you're actually, someone's finally trying to, like, talk about it. A couple people are still active duty. I tried to get them on the record. I requested with the Great Lakes Public Affairs, the Navy Public Affairs Office, if I could speak to one of these guys. And pretty much they asked me a few questions, and that was the last communication I've had from them. So,
well, yeah, here's the other. I had a friend of mine that I grew up with in Panama, but he lives now here in Los Angeles. And about 5 years ago, I hadn't seen him since we were kids. I hadn't seen him since I was 16 years old. Okay. But anyway, so he comes over to the house for dinner, and, he knows I had Jason Martell over there and, from Ancient Aliens. And he says at dinner on our back patio, he goes, so Jimmy, man, you remember the UFO that we saw when we were kids? And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, that you lost your mind. Remember, we were all out and the flying saucer was above us and it was silver and it was lit up and it was spinning and it, I go, what are you talking about? Jimmy, you saw it first. And he described it. I don't remember it, Dave. I don't remember it. I want to remember it. I don't remember it. And he said, I lost my mind and that I saw it first. Maybe I was abducted. Men in Black, they erased my mind. I don't know. But I don't remember it. It's like this case in 2004, right?
Yeah, I mean, right? So some people don't remember it. And then other people were like, yeah, I remember it. And then they tell me and they're like, well, what about the next day? No one talked about it. Really? Yeah, unless we all forgot about it and went back to our jobs and just forgot about it for 16 years.
Yeah, easy to do. Easy to do. I have no issues with that. All right, let's take our break. You've got video of the Apache that we can show? Of course you do.
I think I do. I can pull
I know you do. You're Dave Beaty. You're Warren's cousin. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Dave Beaty is with us tonight, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this Apache helicopter video that is making the rounds right here on the internet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. We'll be right back. What a great show.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can right now get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What a great week we've got coming up on Fade to Black tonight. Dave Beaty is with us. Tomorrow night, Jason Quitspiracy, we think, number 10. That's a conspiracy in itself. That's tomorrow night. And then Wednesday night, Freddie Silva is stopping by. What a great week coming up. Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Tonight is Dave Beaty. And now, Dave, this video popped up. I think it was released by the Debrief of now, this is what I understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's an Apache that is getting ready to take off, to crew, and this video is shot. There's a pilot, and would you call it a co-pilot, or is it like a weapons guy, the second guy?
Yeah, I think it's like a weapons guy. I forget what they call the Apache backseater.
Yeah, okay, I've lost volume on you. What happened?
My mic got switched. Here we go. It got bumped.
Yeah, he's a professional cinematographer, everybody. Okay, so where was this shot at?
It's my understanding that the video was shot in Arizona, probably like near Saguaro National Park or something like that, in a Air Force training area that they use for practicing, or it might be Army. I'm not exactly sure which unit was filming it, but they were out there doing training in a very remote kind of airspace there in the desert.
And the date?
I believe that this was, I don't know, I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, it's recent. It's recent footage. And now, would you consider this leaked?
I think that the story that the debrief and the media picked up on this was that there was a Department of Homeland Security employee that was very interested in collecting sort of the anomalous video and reports that had been coming in through Customs and Border Patrol and through his department. It just there was no place to kind of collect and report these things that some of his co-workers and peers had kind of been chatting about. And so he took it upon himself. He went to a superior. They kind of agreed. And so they were trying to collect this information in an ad hoc way. And I don't know that this was like an official U.S. government sanctioned program, but it was like something he wanted to do and his superiors kind of agreed to. So he began collecting this information. And I think at one point before it was released, they discussed the content and the material that was in the videos, that it wasn't really classified. These objects weren't, part of the ongoing investigations. They were just kind of anomalous. And so several different videos had been leaked out probably over the last year or so. Mostly they were FLIR videos out in the Southwest, of objects. And that's kind of how they are. And this video that we were talking about right now, this Apache video, is part of that collection.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Let's watch the video and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Sure. So the actual video itself is quite lengthy. And it's what we're basically seeing is what the backseat gunner of the Apache helicopter sees looking through his helmet-mounted display. So his helmet projects basically the targeting system of the Apache. So wherever his head looks, he can turn around and see everything that the gun is seeing. So the camera and the gun system are kind of connected together. I think it's target acquisitioning device. It's called the TADS. And so both the pilot and the co-pilot gunner can, look through the system to target whatever they see with their eyes. It's a very sophisticated sensor. And these guys were out, training and doing some taxiing. And you can, in the video, you do hear the pilot and the co-pilot talking, just routine flight training stuff. And it's, this goes on for quite a long time. And the actual UAP part of the clip is really just kind of a small section of it. Let's see if I can cue it up here, Jimmy. I don't seem to have control of my cursor anymore.
Nothing like live radio. So again, this is from the gunners, the weapons guy sitting. Now they're tandem. They sit behind each other on the Apache. They're not sitting side by side. And so as he moves his head, that is what is being videoed, and that's what we're seeing. So this is the weapons view.
Yeah, that's correct. So basically, this is like the guy in the back seat, or it might be the front. Not exactly
I think he's in the front. I think the pilot's in the back, right?
Yeah. So they're looking through their helmet, but they have night vision devices on the helmet that when they look around, they basically are seeing through the FLIR camera. So this video was taken approximately at 10 p.m. at night. So even though it kind of looks pretty bright, that's because they're flying at night and they're using this FLIR vision system tracking it. And
now, do you have the audio that happens right here?
I didn't test it. I can try to see if it'll work. Let's see here. In StreamYard, I'm not sure if it'll play.
No, it will.
Let's see. Well, if I turn my volume up, is it going to feed back?
There it is.
So, you know, it's actually quite routine for most of the video. It's only towards the end where they kind of talk about something unusual going on.
Right.
So I'm going to try to see if I can fast forward. Right now, my system's not letting me actually control the...
Well, this is about where it happens.
Let me just I'll kind of go fast forward here. We'll get to it.
Here's the thing, the one in the bag, right? So, you know,
Hey, Dave, can you enlarge this for us?
Yeah, let me see.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry, Jimmy, I just wasn't really prepared tonight to pull this up kind of like at the last second. So now it won't, like, my cursor won't let me like go fast forward here, you know, for some reason.
Yeah, I see that.
And this is like I think it's like an hour, like, well, it looks like it's an hour-long video, you know. So finding the exact spot without being able to cue it up is kind of a challenge for me. But in essence, you know, what these guys saw were like some white objects that are, you know, in the distance, and the instructor pilot's like doing his thing, and the person, the co-pilot, that's the trainee, so to speak, notices the objects and says, hey, you know, what are those things? And the instructor pilot looks up, or, you know, kind of glances up and says, oh, those are probably F-16s or fast movers. And then he kind of goes back to what he's doing, and he says, you know, something like, don't look up there, like, or he's referencing the fact that they're trying to focus on this training thing, not to be looking up out of the cockpit as something in the distance. So,
and there's three, right? I think there's three objects.
Yeah, there's like, let me see if I can find it, Jimmy. Hold on.
Well, okay. While you're locating that, so in the video, they have some pretty crazy movements that are going on, and so for the weapons guy to say, or the pilot to say that those are jets, and then when you look at the way that these objects are moving, if those are fast movers, that's a pretty unorthodox flight. I mean, they're not flying straight, right?
Right.
They're very erratic in what is going on, and that's very interesting to me.
Right. So, I mean, the point of the video and why it was sort of unusual, I think, to everybody that saw it, was the fact that these objects appear to maneuver in a way that's very unusual. And if you kind of look at it, at one point in the video, it looks like they're almost like rotating around each other. They're kind of spinning around like this. So, you know, they're going along straight. There's, you know, several white dots are just kind of moving along. And then at one point when they get near the mountains, they sort of do this little do-si-do movement. And it was just sort of unusual. When I first saw the video, I was like, wow, you know, they're so far away. They're just like microscopic little dots. And
Zebra.
You can't really like...
Sneaker.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You can't really like tell what they are because they were so small. I was just like, okay. So using my computer system, I said, well, as soon as I have a decent copy of the video, I'm just going to kind of ground stabilize it. And what that means is you kind of grab a piece of the ground in the video, the runway or something like that, and you tell the system, okay, that I want to make that, stabilized on that point on the ground. So if your head's moving around or whatever, it'll kind of stop it. So then you can see the movement of objects. Like if there's an object in the scene, you could see that object moving around. So
I think I have the video here queued up.
Let's good, thanks.
Let me see what I've got here.
281, Roger.
Wow, are those three really fast flying jets up there?
Probably some A10s or some F-16s. I'm not looking up there. Cross-tower longboats.
Okay. Now, when you look at this, and you can see his helmet, you know, he's looking at it.
Wow, those 3 really fast flying jets up there? Probably some A10s or some F-16s. I'm not looking up there.
Right, you can tell. I mean, they're pretty far away, so it's.
They look like it's. Now, is it because the Apache is moving that it looks like it's an accelerated speed?
Well, you know, the helmet camera is moving, so you have the entire helmet camera controls it's a camera in front on the nose of the Apache. So as he's moving his head around like this, the camera system's moving. So you have the helicopter that's moving in 3 dimensions, and then on top of that, you have the camera and it's moving around. It's a little disorienting to put it together when you see the objects of what are those movements? What are those objects movements? So what I did was I ground stabilized the camera so that it took away most of the movement of the Apache and most of the movement of this helmet, and only left, like if it was like on a tripod, basically, to look at what those objects were doing. And I was kind of successful in getting them pretty stabilized. And then I started zooming in on the objects and, like watching them as they went. And I was kind of like, it's kind of interesting. And I stabilized it as they got closer to the mountains. And, to be honest with you, they looked like kind of conventional objects, and I didn't really know what they were. I'm just like, saying that looks kind of obvious to me. And I didn't want to say what I thought they were. So I went on Twitter and I just posted this video, and I said, I put an arrow next to the object and I go, what do you think this is? What is this? And pretty much the overwhelming consensus was, that's a bird, I'm not the one saying, hey man, that's a bird, look. I'm just saying, what do you guys think this is? And it kind of erupted in a huge controversy, which Twitter is good for, as you know. And there's
I do.
And everyone got all riled up about it, and saying I don't know what I'm talking about, and that I am tampering with evidence, and I mean, I don't think I did. So I just basically put the video up there and said, this is the real video. I didn't change anything, and it certainly looks like that to me. So
now, why would you? Did you see flapping wings? Did you see a beak? Did you see?
Yeah, I saw flapping wings.
I mean, and its talons.
I have the video that I stabilized here. I don't know if it'll work if I go full screen on this.
Yeah, there you go. Let's go. Let me see. You got to share it.
Let's see here.
I'll see it light up.
I'll say stop, share. Let's see, share, stop, share, and then I'll reshare.
Yeah.
Let's see here, this one.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, now blow that up.
Okay.
There you go. Got it? Okay, here we go.
Okay, so here's my stabilized version of the anomalous objects.
Oh.
And,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
See right there, I zoom in on it.
Yep.
So that's what caused a lot of controversy right there. That section saying,
yeah.
And I honestly, I had no intention of like saying anyone was suggesting that these are UFOs or whatever. I'm just saying, hey, I'm a guy that just took some video and stabilized it and put it on Twitter. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you've stabilized, okay, that looks like a bird to me. Okay, all right. Now, how does an observation go from a trained pilot? And I know you and I talked about this off of the air, so We'll take this on air.
Yeah.
How do we go from a trained pilot to actually, right, the weapons guy?
Right.
These are trained observers. How do we go from those are A-10s or F-16s to birds? How wouldn't they see birds from the word go? I mean, don't they know the difference?
Well, what I would suggest would be that they're not looking through. It's not daytime. They're looking through this very sophisticated head-mounted system at something that is presented to them in a much like a two-dimensional view in a way. So they are seeing them that in that way, and they're also seeing them in a FLIR view, so that they're looking at the heat signature of the environment that might be put together with the visual as well, like a fusion of the television or videos and the FLIR. I'm not sure. Actually, I didn't find that out, but you're probably looking at a pixel size white thing that's moving around in front of you. So unless you have it on radar or you're talking to the tower and they've advised you that there's some F-16s out in front of you, you might just look up and see these white things out there in front of you and go, oh, those are jets or something. And that's kind of how I read it. And another pilot friend said when he listened to it, he thought that the instructor pilot kind of sounded like he was doing a checklist, or he was involved in, doing the training, that he was looking into the helicopter cockpit doing something, and the trainee behind him or in front of him, said, hey, what are those out there? And he looked up and said, oh, those are F-16s or A-10s or something, and then went back to what he was doing. And he didn't.
Right.
It was just an offhand comment. Maybe if he had, looked at him a little bit more, or contacted the tower or something like that to ask if they had any, traffic in the area, they would have said, no, we don't have anything. You're all clear. They would have known, well, those are probably not our jets then.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing of it is with depth perception, looking through a camera system, it's somewhat difficult, in my opinion, to judge distance that way. So you could have something, say, that's small, like a bird that's, a couple feet wide, that's, 300 feet away, or a jet that's way bigger, a lot farther away, moving a lot faster. So, if you do the calculations to look at the flight path of these objects, both work. You can actually work out, a bird flying at 50 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour in front of the helicopter doing the same path as an F-16 that's, way far away going,
Right.
Mach, whatever.
Well, if I was shown this and nobody said UAP, nobody said bird, and I'm just looking at the stabilized version of it, I would say that looks like a bird. It feels natural to me. But this is what's strange. But then when you look at the original video without the stabilization, that looks pretty freaky deaky. That looks mechanical and acting funny.
Right. So you have to realize that, in the beginning there, right there, I'm not very close, and I'm blowing up this video to, 500% or 600%. I'm scaling in what something would be almost imperceptible because it's so small in the screen when you're looking at it.
Right.
You can't see that movement. You have to blow it up to almost full screen, zoomed in right on those objects to discern the movement. The fact that you can even see that movement is pretty extraordinary. And it speaks to the fact that the sensor system is pretty high resolution that it was recorded on. And I don't even think that this video was like the final original coming out of the helicopter that I was using. So there might even be a higher resolution version of the video floating around.
Right.
And Jimmy, when I was doing this, I was more interested to look at the cool UAP and go, wow, this really is anomalous. Or
of course, yeah.
I didn't expect to see it, but when I did, I was like, okay, I'm stopping right now because, that looks like a bird right there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it does. I'm on the fence. I'm going undetermined.
Okay,
undetermined. I'm going.
Yeah. I mean, well, let me just add one more little piece of evidence. I did reach out to the Tucson, Arizona area Audubon Society, and did eventually reach an individual there that, I showed him the video and I said, my thought that this might be birds. And he said, well, there is a species of nighthawk that migrates into Arizona in the spring, and I'm not sure when they leave or whatever, that does fit this type of night activity where they travel and they hunt at night. And so when he saw it, he's like, it could be, I'm not saying that's what it is. So.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. This was shot at night. It's confusing because it looks like it's daytime. It's not. This is at night. And there wasn't a visual way to look on and see if it was an A-10 or a bird or a kite or a kid with his Spider-Man drone. You don't know. You don't know. No. This is at night. Dave, you are the absolute very best, man. And this, let's go back here. We started off the show with the USS Kearsarge. That is far from resolved. I think that we're going to definitely continue to investigate that. Not only us, but the UAP task force. And this USS Ronald Reagan, we need some more crew members to come forward, and there's probably a way to FOIA something on that. I don't think that there's any way that was just completely a non-event and was not logged. I understand what Carl said, that he didn't log it, but you've got a lot of crew members there. And I think that's a very interesting situation we find ourselves in. It's an incredible case.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've talked to 5 people that saw this remarkable thing. It's just incredible. I hope I have 2 more interviews in the can that I'm going to push out pretty soon as I get a chance to edit them. And both the interviews are really, really interesting.
Thank you so much, Dave, for everything that you've done. And I'm going to repeat what I said to Dave last week, which is this. When it comes to trying to figure out what's going on, we have to listen to everybody. Everybody's welcome to the table. Let's get just like Carl said, right? Nobody had the same description about what went on. Well, that's the way let's get it all. Everybody, just different minds, different eyes, different conclusions, different expertise. Let's get it all on the table and try to figure out what's going on. And Dave, you play a big part in all of that. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much. I totally agree with you. I mean, if we all work together and just try not to get angry, and I think if we all put our minds together, we probably can eventually come up with an answer.
Yeah, it was so funny because Dave and I were talking last week. We weren't agreeing with each other, which was the point. Let's just we can talk to each other. Let's try to figure this out. And that's it. And what a great world it would be if suddenly everybody started listening and maybe not talking as much. So there you go. Dave, enjoy the rest of your night. And thank you so much. What a great show. And thank Carl for us, too, as well, for coming on. That was unbelievably great.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. Dave Beaty. Dave, where can everybody see your stuff?
Well, on YouTube, if you do look up the Nimitz Encounters, it usually pops up. I have a YouTube channel there, and I try to put all these interviews on that one, YouTube page. You can go to thenimitzEncounters.com, and you'll also find a link to the video there if you can't find it on YouTube. And as Jimmy said, he's going to put a link into the Medium articles.
Yeah, I've got the Medium articles linked, and those are both great. One on the Kearsarge and the other one on the USS Ronald Reagan. Those are right there, too, as well. Dave, get some sleep. Thank you so much for staying up with us tonight.
Appreciate it. No problem.
Dave Beaty. And with that, I've got to get straight to the credits. Wow, we just went pole to pole, end to end, beginning with tonight's show. So much fun. Just excellent. Fade to Black's producers are Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and this broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, right here, Jason Quitspiracy. Until then, I want everybody to be safe. It's time to fade to black.